Yo, what is up, Entrepreneur DNA family? I'm here with what I consider one of my closest friends, a big brother to me, someone who's brought me through the real estate space for well over a decade now. My brother, Clothier, is here. What is happening, dude?
What's happening, my man?
Well, I'm excited you were able to find some time. You are a busy cat, but you, as always, are here to help me serve my community and shine some light on the people. And this is a special episode because it is right up what you have made a big impact on me for, which is becoming a business owner, being an entrepreneur, riding that roller coaster, right? The ups and the downs. And you have recently really specialized and taken to heart kind of this helping business owners become a true CEO, right? And I think that's something that I want to highlight here on this episode and what that kind of looked like. And for all that don't know who Kent is, I encourage all of you guys to first go follow him on all the platforms, Instagram, Facebook, just everywhere, just to get to know how powerful this man is. I can't tell you how much he's meant to me in my business journey and my entrepreneurship. So listen up. This will be a good episode. And by the way, he will fucking keep it raw and real. There's no doubt. That's what he's known for. So let's dive into it, dude. I think something that has been a common theme specifically as we record this is everyone's a little weary of the economy and owning a business and running a business and doubling down on marketing and spend and cost and those type of things. How are you looking at the economic state right now as a business owner? You run many businesses. How do you look at what's going on real time in the world right now?
I simply don't care. And the reality of it is that if I spent time looking outwardly as it relates to the economy, as it relates to, let me just say it this way. There are certainly a lot of businesses that are dramatically impacted by what happens, in the economy, right? If you own grocery stores, if you own any kind of retail, if you own a real estate brokerage right now, if you were selling used cars, or there's all kinds of things that for sure are impacted. If you owned, local banking, but my particular businesses and what I run, I have found that largely consumer sentiment, customer sentiment does have an impact, but I specialize in working with high-level entrepreneurs in my businesses now, that are designed the way their businesses are designed and the way my business, they are designed that, hey, good economy, bad economy, somebody's still transacting. Things are still happening. Money's still moving. Deals are still being done. I think people get caught up in applying the macro and trying to make it fit into their day-to-day business. And it has a direct impact on their sentiment, their belief system, the actions they're willing to take. And I've never found that, or I shouldn't say never, but I haven't found that over the course of the last probably 2 decades to be anything that in the end is really relevant to me. And here, I'll give you an example. So if you look at it, even if you're in the real estate business right now and you own a retail brokerage, the entire housing industry has not shut down. There are deals still being done, tens of thousands of deals being done every single month. And so if you go looking for reasons why things are bad, you will find them. Mm-hmm. But if you go looking for reasons why things are still progressing and they're good, you'll find that also. And so I just find that, look, go separate fact from fiction. And if I wanted to sit around and say, oh my God, I'm reading in the papers that the market is down 20% and all this kind of stuff. Well, when you get very local and you realize if I owned a retail brokerage and it does 100 transactions a month and my business is down to where I'm doing 60 transactions a month, I'm down 40%. Well, then go look at the actual market. I've done this several times ago. In the actual entire market, your entire MSA where you actually operate, how many total transactions? Oh, well, there was 12,000 that happened. Okay, so the 12,000 used to happen, now it's down to 10,000. Okay, so the whole market's down 20%. You were 100 transactions of 12,000. Right. Now you're 60 of 10,000. Any way you cut that, That's 940 opportunities, or 9,940 opportunities you did not get.
Right.
And so there's still plenty of room for you to go get yours. You just might have to fight harder than you've ever fought. You might have to do things that are not necessarily the way you've been operating up to this point. You might have to be more aggressive on marketing. You might have to get, really get very serious about going and turning it up in the business. But allowing this macro news feed to suddenly convince you that there's no opportunity, so therefore you're managing the business different, you're taking different actions, you're being more risk adverse, whatever that is, the myth becomes the reality real quick. If you just look at it differently and say, last time I checked, 100 transactions out of 10,000 there's still plenty of room for us. We just got to fight harder. That gets to be true also. So you get to decide what's true in a good economy or a bad economy. That's the way I look at it.
When you're known, for those that do know, you're known for your saying, motto, mantra, freaking everything, right? Which is fuck average, be legendary.
Yeah.
And that is a mindset as well, right? That is you are going to look at today's economy and you get to make the decision. Are you going to go and adapt and go figure out how to go get and recapture those 40 leads? Because there was, in your example, 9,000 other transactions done. But talk to us what that really means to you and what that should mean to anyone hearing you say that.
Look, this is here's the way that, and again, with age comes wisdom, right? When you gain a certain amount of wisdom, when you go through the school of hard knocks, you begin to understand what is true and what is not true, right? And so here's what I mean by that, is that I've come to a place in my life now where I know that hard times create hard people. I know that challenging times bring out the best in me, right? And so in, a fucked up way, I look forward to anything when the business gets a little challenged, because I know it's going to bring the best out of me. I know this is where our company, where our organization will actually shine. You can count on your competition's mediocrity when the vast majority of business owners, the vast majority of people out there are not educated, they're ignorant, they're just kind of going through the motions, they're making some money, but they're not really running a business, they're not doing anything strategic, they're just chasing. When you know that is a fact out there, and you know that when they get in the headlines or they start buying into the BS, that they're going to start pulling back a little bit and pulling down, well, that is the exact moment where I want to be pushing in, because it allows me to create this massive gap and distance between anybody else. And that kind of thinking has always served me very well. Now, as it applies to business, that's just one tactical thing, but as it applies to business is that you get to a place where you actually look forward to bumpy roads, right? Not only because of that, but because it as Warren Buffett says, when the tide rolls out, you get to see who's swimming naked, right?
That's right.
Real easy in challenging times to figure out whether you've got what it takes or not. And either you do or you don't. Either you're ready to crawl up in a ball and play the role of a victim, or you are absolutely, up for the challenge and you will be the victor. And I just believe it is the perfect opportunity to get the best out of yourself. If you were going to be an amazing fighter or MMA fighter or whatever, there's only one way that's done. And that is, you must get in the ring and you must get the ever-living shit beat out of you for months, every day, for months and months and months on end, years on end, before you would ever even expect to be sniffing around being called great, right? You literally have to get punched in the face over and over and over and choked out and bumped and bruised and black eyes and broken noses and bloody, blood everywhere. That's just part of the process to becoming great. It's the only way to do that. Business is no different. If you want to be great, then you actually have to go through things that make you great, that bring greatness out of you. So when it gets a little choppy, then this is when you get the opportunity to, sharpen that axe and become great.
There's a common thread. I've interviewed, a handful of people now and wanted to make sure you were part of this initial launch of Entrepreneur DNA, but all the interviews so far that I've done, everyone has a common thread. You have it and I have it. You not only need to eat shit to get to become great. I mean, you have to lose it all. You have to go to a real dark spot, right? And, you know, I'm not trying to be overly dramatic about ending your life and all that necessarily, although that is also somewhat of a common theme. I'm talking about you need to really lose it all financially, like really crumble. Tell the example.
Look, I don't know if I agree with that. I tell you, I don't know that you have to do it, but you have to be smart enough to be around people who give you the correct perspective. And a lot of times when you're around the right people, that perspective that you're gaining, that knowledge and wisdom you're gaining, is because they have gone through that. And so the idea would be to avoid that.
That's right.
But to have a very, very healthy appreciation for it, because you're surrounding yourself with really smart and wise people who have experienced something that you're trying to avoid. And what that wisdom gives you is the perspective. You know, when you have a healthy appreciation that you can lose things, and that it, you know, and it won't kill you, right? Like, hey, it's okay to push all in. It's okay to go hard in the paint. It's okay to, you know, make logical, well-informed decisions, but that are decisions that are there is a level of risk in them when you're trying to bet on yourself and you're trying to go big. But I'm willing to lose, but I would rather avoid it. Because I've gotten enough wisdom from people that that's not a fun process, and it's not fun to get back, and it could take a decade or longer to get back on top. But I'm willing to, and because I know it won't kill me. In other words, I want to be, I want to have a much bigger fear of regret than I ever have of losing. It's that simple. And so when you get around people that can kind of walk you through that, you know, guys like me who have lost everything and had to fight my way all the way back, right? And absolutely should have filed for bankruptcy, and definitely had thoughts of killing myself and all kinds of bad shit. And it was a really, really dark time in my life 23 years ago. But now, I guess 20 years ago, now that experience has made me extremely powerful. In other words, you know, at the time, never felt like that. But now when you get, you know, 20 years down the line and you realize that that one thing gave you so much power, because in your darkest moments, you found your way back, and you not only found your way back, you turned that into fuel at your back, you know, the wind in your sails to turn it into an empire. You know, 20 years later, you begin to really kind of buy into your own bullshit. And it's not that I'm fearless. It is that I have a much bigger fear of regret. And back then I had a fear of failure. I had a fear of judgment. I had a fear of falling down. And when I did all those things, and when I did fall down, and I did get judged, and I did get laughed at, I did have to deal with the ridicule and the shame and all that kind of stuff. Guess what? I'm still standing, bitch.
That's it.
It didn't fucking kill me. And I'll figure my way back. And so now all of a sudden that turns into power. Like, I have nothing afraid of. What I need to be afraid of is regret. What happens if I don't go for it? What happens if I don't fight for my dreams? What happens if I don't bet on myself? What happens if I don't, you know, make that investment in myself to get around badass people, or to get the education, or to get mentorship, or to invest in this marketing, or whatever it is? It's the thing that seems kind of risky. What if you don't do that? How's anything going to change? That's power.
Yeah. What are your options if you don't do that? Right.
Yeah.
So, and that goes back to your saying, right? Fuck average, be legendary. Well, you don't get to legendary if you don't go for it. And so, you know, listen, you have been able to empower a lot of other entrepreneurs with a simple idea of, you know, what's your why? And I don't want to get all West Coast woo-woo on everybody, but I think you have a very strategic way to help people understand that isn't like, oh, I do it for my kids, which is every parent's answer, right? You've said this to thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people, and everyone says, I'm doing this for my kids. But let's walk them through a little of the strategy that you help people kind of walk through to help understand what is their perfect day? Why are they doing this? What does it mean for them to do it? What do they really want in the end? You have a very good way to walk people down that path that I think would be important for this episode.
Well, I think, look, you know, the big thing for entrepreneurs is, you know, everybody goes through the same phases, right? You have to go through this hustler phase where you're basically just trying to solve the income challenge, right? And I'm sure a lot of people on here are going to be in that phase where, man, I just need to make $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 a year. And then okay, well, that's phase one. And then, there's this next phase where I need to start the process of turning it into a real business, which means putting people and processes and all these things in place. And why do people do that? A lot of times people think that they do it. And to your point, they do it just because it's kind of the next box to check, versus doing it on purpose, with a vision, very intentionally. And what is the outcome you're looking for? And I'll tell you that most successful people, the outcome they're looking for is not that I want to own a big business. The outcome they're looking for is I want to control time. I want to be able to do what I started this thing to create financial freedom, and financial freedom directly equates to time freedom. If I have financial freedom and I'm going to get paid whether I show up or not, then suddenly I get to control time. I get to spend it with my kids. I get to go and spend it with my church. I get to travel the world. I get to do all the things that actually matter. And I get to do them when I'm healthy enough to do them, not when I'm 65 or 70 years old and, got a wheelchair and a cane. I can do it now. And so when you first frame it like that and think about, why are you trying to scale this business? What is the point? Why is it not good enough to just be a high income earner? Well, it's because I want to control time. And if I'm just trading time for dollars, being the hustler, that's not freedom. All right. So now let's get really focused on why we're trying to do this. And because there's going to be levels of risk. There's going to be plenty of times when have got sleepless nights and you don't want to do it. You want to give up and go back to the fighter analogy, plenty of times when you're getting the shit beat out of you and you're back in the corner, like, I'm out. I don't want to do this. And you got somebody in your corner, the coach or whoever, like, no, you got to get back in there. Remember why you're doing it. So you have to arm yourself with the mental toughness. And part of the mental toughness is getting down into the weeds of, why are you doing it? What's the purpose? Like, why am I actually doing this stuff? And, we've all heard this, kind of attaching the why especially from a man's perspective. When you can get the why to be very emotional for you, why am I doing this? And you keep asking yourself, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing it because I want to build a business. Why? Well, because I want to really have some time freedom. Why? Well, I don't want to miss my kids growing up. Why? Well, my dad or my mom was never there when I did it. Why? Well, like I said, and when you just keep going, drilling down, at some point, if you keep asking yourself why, and you're honest with yourself, you're going to hit something that is going to be painful. And when you hit that emotional pain, that becomes fuel. And okay, now I understand exactly why I'm doing this. And now I'm going to use that as ammunition, as a weapon, when it comes down to when those gut check moments come up. Why am I doing this? Well, I want time freedom because I want to spend time with my little girl because, my parents weren't around and they had to work their out. Like, whatever that thing is, you're just going to drop right down to it, and it'll take you instantly. Our brain is designed to create these synapses, these, express freeways, if you will. And when you give your brain something that basically says, when this question's asked, this is the reaction, suddenly that is the exact thing we need to snap out of it, right? And so that becomes kind of, the why behind it. But, to go much, much further on this one topic, right? This is all on basically the fuel and the why, is if you had to live the exact same day over and over and over, like Groundhog Day, then, I would tell you to sit down and write out or voice record in your phone exactly what that day would look like. Who would you spend the day with? What would you do when you woke up? What would you eat? What would the air smell like? What would the room look like? Where would you spend the time? Everything. What does a perfect day look like? Because if you had to live the exact same day over and over and over again, what would be the point of it being anything less than perfect? And anybody that got on here and said, well, I would go to the office and do that, you're full of shit, because you would never do that in your perfect day. You would absolutely, what does perfection look like? Oh, well, my perfection, I would be a rock star and I would have, 10 hookers with me and we'd be flying around the world. And okay, well, that's your version of perfect, man. Whatever you want to do, okay? But whatever perfect looks like is what I'm talking about for that 24-hour period. And you want to record yourself talking through this and you want to record yourself, and there's 2 rules to do this very effectively. I want to know what the perfect day is, or you want to know what the perfect day is, number 1. Number 2, you need to speak it in the affirmative. I am doing this. I am not I will. I am doing this. I am with these people. I am going out on this boat and we are cruising around. Like, describe it as if it's happening real, right? That's very, very important. And then equally, you want to be as detailed as humanly possible. And again, if you want to write it out and then record it, do it that way. Now, there's a reason. There's a logic behind all this. Our brain thinks in images and pictures and movies. That's the way our brain, like, nobody here, if I told you to imagine your best day ever, you're thinking words. Like, you're thinking about a beach and palm trees and coconuts and, you know, whatever it is, right? We think in images. And our brain naturally is looking for that. It's craving the images, right? And especially our subconscious. And so the way this works is that your subconscious has a tendency, or it is absolutely making millions of decisions every day in billions of a second, right? From me moving my hands like I'm doing right now, or blinking my eyes, or my heart beating, or whatever. Your subconscious is doing all this kind of stuff. And now your analytical brain is just trying to think about what am I going to say next and all that kind of stuff. And so your subconscious is so powerful, but it doesn't think like our analytical side of our brain does. What I mean by that is that our subconscious, seeing is believing. It is not, your analytical side of your brain has one job. Don't fucking die. It is designed to just keep us all alive. The other side of your brain is just go, 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 go. And it cannot distinguish between what is real and what is not real. And it is so powerful, and it is effectively so dumb to that whether it's real or not, it will actually physically change you. And I can prove it to you right now. You might be thinking, man, this is just hocus pocus bullshit. But for everybody that's on here, if you've ever had a dream that is so real that you woke up and your heart's racing, adrenaline's pumping, you're out of breath. Oh God, Jesus, man, that was crazy. And your wife's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Maybe you screamed out or whatever. Okay, my question to you was it real? No, it was a dream. But in the mind's eye, it was so real that the adrenaline dropped, right? Right? The heart started racing even faster. You screaming out. Maybe you're crying, whatever's going on. Those are physical changes. The subconscious it cannot tell what's real or what's not, and it's physically changing you, making you take different actions because it can't tell the difference. Now imagine if you could train that to think about your perfect day and imagine it over and over and over and over again, and it starts to believe this is real. What you're doing is you're training your intuition, you're training your gut, you're training your mind to start imagining this thing looking forward, and all of a sudden, this is my perfect outcome I'm looking for, and you naturally will start making subconscious decisions to move in that direction. It's an extremely powerful tool. Now, how does he do that? Well, with that recording you recorded, once it's perfected and it's all in it, very detailed, just like you're trying to look at a screenplay, and it's very, it's in the affirmative. If you will listen to that thing on repeat at the gym, in the car, when you're walking, when you're working out, whatever it is, you'll start to notice that I'm moving in an intentional way, not only from an analytical side of my brain, but from a subconscious side of my brain. I'm moving towards the outcome I'm looking for. And it's an extremely powerful tool. So 1, understanding the purpose, why you're doing it. 2, giving your brain something to actually imagine. And then 3, the last thing I'll tell you is that go calculate how many days you have left on this planet. And when you calculate how many days you have left on this planet, so if you're a man, take 78 and subtract your current age. That's how many years you have left. A woman, 82, subtract your current age. That's how many years you have left. Take that number, multiply it times 365. That's how many, statistically speaking, how many days you have left on the planet. Average American male lives to 78. Average American female lives to 82. When you see those days and you take that number and you go put it on your mirror in your master bedroom where you brush your teeth, when you get out of the shower, brush your hair, put your makeup on, that mirror right there, when you put it on a dry erase marker, write it up there. And every morning when you get done brushing your teeth, you watch your life tick away and you realize, holy shit, the clock's moving on me. This is what my purpose is, and that is what perfection looks like. The combination of those three, those are things that start to really, really play an impact on understanding there is no point in playing small.
Amen, bro.
Got a limited amount of time, baby. You better go.
Amen. You know, one of the questions I think of when listening to you is I really think not everyone's built to be an entrepreneur. And then I hear how you just described that, and I think everyone has to be an entrepreneur. Because if you are a W-2 employee and you are beholden to that, how are you going to create your perfect day, right? How are you going to be able to spend the time with the friends, the families, the holidays, and have the ability, be able to financially do it, right? I've been to freaking Disney World and Disneyland 3 times in less than 30 days because I've created a life that allows me and affords me to do such things. And it's because I'm an entrepreneur. And when you listen to how you just described it and you literally watch your life tick away by one at a time, removing it, I mean, it is a point of like everyone has to become an entrepreneur at some level. You may not need to be Kent Clothier or Justin Colby or a larger thing, but you need to be able to create your own life. And that really is what I'm listening and hearing, and it really important. Now, to pivot gears just slightly here, you have spent the better part of at least a decade coaching and mentoring entrepreneurs, advising. What do you see as a common failure point where they break, where they mess up, where they don't understand whatever that is? And then what would you give a piece of advice for a common thread, right? Knowing that you've done this for thousands, if not tens of thousands for over a decade, a common break point, failure point, mistake, if you will, that you can say, here's my suggestion for the masses of entrepreneurs. Don't do this thing. What would that be?
I think that perfection is the enemy of progress.
There you go.
And so I think that most new entrepreneurs have bought into some mythology, some preconceived notion, and whether it's through social media or through clever marketing or whatever it is, but they have very, very unrealistic expectations of what it actually takes. And I think, one thing I pride myself on is being extremely transparent, that this is the reason why the purpose, this is the reason why all these things, you have to get all this foundational stuff that I just covered in place, because the journey is real. And, where the mistake people make is that they walk into, they're bringing a knife to a gunfight, right? They think they understand what they are in store for. And then they are expecting the best and they're not prepared for the worst. When does the Ferrari show up? When's the Lamborghini show up? When's the private jet show up? When's the pretty watches show up? Whatever. And the reality is that that's all bullshit, right? What is real is that you have to be extremely passionate about life. You have to be extremely ambitious that you deserve to win. And you have to be relentless that you will never give up, regardless if it happens on your timetable or not, that I have the mental toughness, the intestinal fortitude that I will never stop. Like, I will, the old Will Smith saying, like, when I get on the treadmill, there's a guy next to me, one of two things happening. He's getting off first or I'm going to die, right? And that is exactly what it takes. Like, you cannot deny somebody that will not give up. It's just a matter of time. And so I think that when you get into the game, you have to literally be prepared, going back to the fight analogy again, to get hit. And I think if again, I'm going to go down that for a second here. Let's just think about how unrealistic it would be that if I picked up the phone and I called you, I said, Justin, bro, I'm going to be a great fighter. I've read every book. I've listened to every podcast. I've watched every YouTube video. Let's get Dana White on the phone. I'm ready to be in the UFC championship. You'd be like, bro, you have lost your goddamn mind.
No doubt.
And you'd be right. And so the point of it is that if I expected to be great, the only way that I would be is exactly what I was talking about earlier. I have to get in the ring. I am prepared to get hit. I know that I have an opponent on the other side of the ring, that his job is he's trying to kill my ass. And I'm mentally ready for that. Like I understand the rules of engagement. I'm going in ready to get hit. It is a natural process. It's a natural progression of becoming great. And I'm prepared to get bumped and bruised and knocked down and knocked out. But I'm also prepared that when that stuff happens, I'm going to get back in the ring. It's not going to deter me because I want to be great. And so I think, to expand on that, I think if that same kind of mentality, if people adopted that coming into business from the very beginning, that look, I know the way to become great is I'm going to follow a process. I'm going to follow a system. I'm going to use the information and the insight that I'm learning, but I'm prepared to do battle. I'm prepared to go to war. I'm prepared that with what comes with that, and meaning I'm going to get hit, I'm going to get knocked around, but I'm never going to give up. And it's okay to get knocked down. It's okay to get hit. It's okay to suffer. It's okay to be uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean I'm failing. It just means I'm becoming great. That kind of mental attitude coming into it, I think if people could adopt that from the very beginning or get around people that help them to adopt that, I think you would see the success rate in new businesses skyrocket. I think people come in bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with their head halfway up their ass, thinking that, it's just going to, the guy said all I need to do is press this button and turn on this ad and suddenly everybody's going to buy my shit. And that's not real, guys.
Yeah.
Like, get into business to fight for your dream, to fight for your perfect day, to fight to become financially free, to create time freedom. And because that clock is ticking away on you, get all the right reasons in place and then fight. But don't come in there thinking it's going to be cupcakes and rainbows and sunshine. And that, unfortunately, is what I see a lot of people do. They just kind of come in and they're just not prepared. And the first time things get a little rough, they start running home to mama and, kicking and screaming and crying and playing the role of the victim. And it's like, no, bitch, that's just a Tuesday. That's what happens.
That's it.
Every day. Get used to it.
I say it in a slightly different form, and I just say, remove your expectation of when you're going to achieve the result, right? So time, result, expectation. Most people have a very short expectation of when they'll achieve the result.
Yep.
And then they miss it, and they think they're a failure. And to your point, they put their tail between their legs. They crawl back home to mommy. Oh, this is so hard. It's my market. It's my thing. Whatever industry, right? If there's an excuse beholded because they didn't hit their goal. And here's what I would tell you, and I'll ask you. I'm not even going to tell you anything. Are you at where you want to be? Have
Never.
you achieved your goal?
Never.
Right.
Ever. I mean, at the end of the day, you show me a millionaire and I'll show you a frustrated billionaire.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
For guys like us, and I would think most successful entrepreneurs, you learn to become blissfully dissatisfied. And it's just the moment you get comfortable, it feels very uncomfortable. And so, we're guys like me and you and many others, and a lot of the guys that we run with I certainly recognize the success that I've had. I certainly recognize and am satisfied that I have accomplished more than most will ever accomplish in their lifetime. But by no means am I where I want to be. It's just a constant moving of the milestone, right? It's a way of keeping score. I know I am designed to continue to evolve and become greater than I am today. And that is the fuel that has always allowed me to become, some version of greater than I was yesterday. And, I'm always trying to improve. And if I think that anybody that isn't doing that, you're going in the wrong direction, whether that is personal or professional. So I'm looking, again, I think it said it best, I'm blissfully dissatisfied. I absolutely recognize and am very grateful for everything that I've been able to accomplish and the people that are in my life. And, what most unfortunately will never get to accomplish. But that being said, man, I ain't even got started yet. And I've been in business 35 years. I'm not even close to where I want to be.
Yeah, I think people don't even recognize the amount of achievement they make. And I think that's part of the challenge of an entrepreneur is you're head down trying to achieve so much, you don't actually even look around to see what you have achieved. And say it again, how you say you're blissfully, what's your saying?
Blissfully dissatisfied.
I love that, right? And it's because you're aware enough and present enough to realize, holy shit, look what I've created, 30 years in business. But man, I got a fucking long way to go to get to where I'm trying to go.
Well,
and I think
it also boils down to this, man, that when you realize that it's a long game and you get better with each week, each day, each quarter, each year, as you gain that knowledge, as you gain that confidence, as you gain that success, you become better qualified to do it all over again and keep going and keep going and keep going. And so then the excitement, it just kind of feeds on itself. In other words, you don't have to do anything anymore, but you get to do things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't have to do shit, but I get to do this because I'm really good at it and I enjoy it. And I have more wisdom from the last 12 months. So it means I have more to offer for the next 12 months. I have more things that I can bring to the table to make, my organizations and others even more successful. So as you gain that wisdom and you gain that knowledge and you gain that experience and that success and those failures, you actually become more powerful. And so what would be the point of becoming at your most powerful point of just, I'm out? That doesn't make any sense at all, right? I mean, that's the reason why somebody like Tom Brady or LeBron, Tom Brady played as long as anybody and didn't want to retire because even when he did retire, he was still one of the greatest in the game at that exact moment, right? And LeBron, as this has been recorded, like at this very moment, he's been in the league longer than anybody else, and he's still one of the greatest in the damn game right now.
That's right.
So it's kind of the same thing in the game of life. It's like, man, at my most powerful, at my most seasoned, at my most well-versed on how to do great things, why would I even think about stopping now?
Yeah, hanging them up. It's and we'll kind of end with this. We're all going through these phases, right? I'm at the age where it's like taking care of my little kids, but I'm also taking care of family now, right? I'm taking care of parents, and they're at the age where now they're almost little kids, right? It's a very interesting thing. You're going through a lot personally that I'm aware of, and friends and stuff of that nature. Let's talk about that saying that you have tatted on you, that you have behind your head. Let's talk about the meaning of that because, again, I just don't think people are present enough today. I say it like this: the days are long, but life is short, right?
No doubt,
we
bro.
all have that. The days are long and life is short. So let's talk about the time is now.
Look, man, I mean, we talked a little bit about it, but in the history of the world, nobody's ever gotten out alive. Period. Right? Everybody's got an expiration date. And every single one of the days that we are gifted by the grace of God is that, a gift. And I do not care how bad it ever gets for you. Anybody that's listening or watching this, whether you're watching it on your laptop or your tablet or your phone, the reality is that one thing puts you in a very, very elite club because last time I checked, there's something like 3 billion people that do not have access to clean water or clean sanitation on the planet right now out of 8 billion. Last time I checked, on any given day, just in the United States, there's 600 to 700,000 people in a hospital bed right now, today. There's tens of thousands of people that will die today. There are millions, if not billions of people that on your worst day, they're praying for it. Your worst day represents their best day, right? Think about the people that are sitting in a hospital bed right now that would like nothing more than the opportunity to get up out of that bed, go home, and what I get to do today? I get to go record a podcast with a buddy of mine. Like, that's like, oh my God, that seems like the greatest day they could ever have, right? When they're faced with their mortality and, death in a hospital. A little perspective goes a long way. And
you said this time and time again, not to interrupt you, but you always say, be grateful to have to overcome certain challenges.
Yeah, be grateful
because your ass isn't in a hospital bed.
That's right. Be grateful for your problems, right? Like,
that's right.
Everybody, every one of your problems, there are real victims in the world. Let's be honest. But largely, anybody that's listening to this, the problems that you have, you created, right? They're based on decisions that you've made, which is cool. Because, if I made those decisions, that means I can make better decisions. I get the opportunity to solve this. Thank God these are my problems. Thank God I'm not trying to, feed an infant and I have no money, no food, no water, no shelter. And there's plenty of places on the planet where that's true. Where people are like, thank God I'm not sitting in a war-torn country like the Ukraine right now, right? Thank God I'm not in Israel and my young daughter is being held hostage right now, right? Like there's some real shit going on in the world. And anybody that's listening to this, you're not a part of that. And so this is your moment. This is the time. This is that chance you get today. You woke up, you're healthy, you're breathing, you're physically fit. You get the chance to go and solve problems. You get the chance in the greatest country in the world to, at a great time, to actually start a business, run a business, create a business. No, there's nothing in this world. For God's sakes, we have 18-year-old kids, 15-year-old kids on YouTube making $10 million a year, right? You've got freaking chicks on OnlyFans making $10 million a year. Like, we live in a place where if you can come up with an idea, the tools and the technology to implement that idea and turn it into revenue in real time, as it has never been more prevalent than it is right now.
That's right.
It's everywhere. And so to sit around and act like a pussy and say, I can't get something done, that is a choice. And that is, you're playing the role of a victim. And anybody that's playing the role of a victim, I have no patience for them, and because it's just not true. There are real victims. The vast majority of the people that are listening and watching this are not those. And so, again, you're healthy. You've got an opportunity. Now, do you need knowledge? Do you need inspiration? Do you need to be aspirational? Do you need to go and take action? Do you need to do things that are going to be very uncomfortable? Of course you need to do those things. But the time is now. This is that moment. You're not getting any younger. As of this moment, this is the youngest you will ever be for the rest of your life. Right now.
Yeah.
Right now, because nobody's getting younger. All right. This is the youngest, this moment, as you're listening to this, that you will ever be for the rest of your life. You're only getting older. And so go. Be bold. Be fearful of regret. Take to do anything less than that, quite frankly, is reckless and irresponsible, because you're acting like time is on your side. You're acting like tomorrow is promised. And I got news for you. It's not. And whether, I had losing a big business at one point in my life. I've had my mentor hold my hand, with millions of dollars in the bank, tens of millions, and hold my hand and tell me as he was dying in a hospital bed, I just wish I had more time, where millions of dollars could not buy him one extra minute, right? I don't know, in a emergency plane landing, could have been a crash with my young daughter and my wife at the time, as it's going, as we're being told to brace for impact as we're landing in Tampa. Like, you realize very quickly that in those perilous moments, holy shit, man, I'm walking around with my head on my ass. I just got on an airplane to fly home. I had no idea any of this shit could happen. Right? Like, how many people die in a car wreck? Like, you have no fucking idea what's going to go on. So why would you waste 1 second not making that phone call, not talking to that person that matters, not telling people the way you feel about them, not going after that business, not planning and designing your life and implementing it? Why would you not do that? Because you can. It's that simple.
Yeah. Well, dude, that is a hell of a way to end this episode, brother. And I think everyone now knows why you're a close friend to me, a big brother to me, a mentor, an advisor, someone that I hold dearly on my heart. And so thank you for showing out and showing up. For all those that don't follow you yet, you need to go follow him on Instagram, all the platforms. He runs what I will always argue to be the most successful, biggest, baddest ass mastermind in the real estate space, called The Boardroom. If you have any interest, if you're a real estate badass and want to be a part of that, then I tell you, reach out to me. I'll ask Ken if I can bring you as a guest.
Yep.
But you got to be a badass. This isn't for rookies, right? You got to be a real player in the game. But again, go follow Kent Clothier on Instagram. Where else would you like to drive them if you want to drive them anywhere?
That's it, man. Just follow me on Instagram, and we between me and my team, we're all over it, man. So if anybody needs any help there, just let me know.
Yeah, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a CEO, he does CEO consulting, coaching to help you grow and scale your business. So again, he's a great resource there. But brother, I appreciate you spending the time with me, the tribe. And as always, I'll see you here shortly at the Mastermind.
You got it, bro. Peace.
Later.
See you guys.